أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن سيدنا حبيبنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. أما بعد، قال الله تبارك وتعالى: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. My brothers and sisters, I'm going to continue talking about racism, but I'm going to also propose that Islam is the only way that we can eradicate racism from our world. Islam is the only religion that will help all of us, whether you are black or white, whether you are Asian or Caucasian, wherever you come from. Islam is the only way, I believe, that we only have at our disposal, both ideologically, philosophically, from faith, and of course from a worldly perspective, a religion that can eradicate racism from this world. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did this. But before, brothers and sisters, I tell you the story of how our Prophet of Allah ﷺ eradicate racism, let me tell you a story of a remarkable woman who was present in the life of the Prophet of Allah ﷺ that we don't talk much about, nor do we hear about it. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had three significant women in his life before he got married, in other words. So at birth, of course, his own mother, Amina, she bore him, gave birth to him. The second person who was involved in the life of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Halima. Halima was his foster mother, milk mother as they call him. In the Arabian world, that was the custom, that a mother, after giving birth to a child, would give that child to a milk mother who would be living in the countryside, more in the rural areas, to be able to experience real Arab life and learn the language from the rural people. And therefore, everyone had a foster mother. And then there's a third person who was involved in the life of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His life was, well, you cannot complete his life and the story of his life without mentioning this woman. I don't know whether you know about this lady. Her name is Baraka Ayman. Now, many people don't know who Baraka Ayman was or is. Let me introduce you to her. She was an Ethiopian black woman who was brought into the house of Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by his father as a slave. That was the tradition of the pre-Islamic Arabia. So Baraka was picked up by Abdullah, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's father, from a market. Abdullah used to be very busy going on expedition for businesses from Mecca all the way to Syria and then to Yemen, and he would be busy during winter and the summer seasons. Depending on the season, he would go to those countries and he would take trade and sell and buy, and that's how he made his living. And he felt very sad that his wife was on her own often, so he went to the market and found a little girl, 9 years old at that time, being sold by somebody, and he brought her to his house. And he gave her a name called Baraka, because very soon after the arrival of this girl, he realized that his house was full of blessings. He treated her very well, like a member of his own family, like a daughter almost. She was 9 only. Ladies and gentlemen, Baraka lived in the household of our beloved Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam before his birth, with his mother Amina, his father Abdullah. When Baraka was 13 years old, in other words 4 years later, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's mother Amina was on her own at home. Her husband had gone on for a long expedition to Syria. She saw a dream. In that dream, she saw a light coming out of her stomach and lighting the path all the way to Syria. There was nobody at home except Barakah. So she went and told Barakah the story. Barakah, knowing what she knew, she told Amina that this must be a good news of an imminent birth of a child in you, and that child will bring light to this world. What did Barakah know? But she was able to say something that was profound. Amina wasn't expecting, she didn't know she was expecting, she had no idea she was pregnant at that time. Of course, after a few days, as she became more pregnant and she started becoming sick and so on, it was confirmed that she was pregnant, and very soon she realized, yes, she's going to have a baby. Ladies and gentlemen, she was eagerly waiting for her husband to return. Every day she would send Barakah out to the market to see if there is any news of returning caravan from Syria. No news. No news. Eventually news came that all people who had gone to Syria from Mecca have returned except Abdullah. Sad news is Abdullah passed away. Amina was absolutely devastated, pregnant, expecting her first baby on her own, and now her husband is dead. What should she do? So she turned to Barakah. Barakah is the one who brought the bad news, consoled her, consoled the mother of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and told her that don't worry, Allah will have better things for you, don't worry. Consoled her. Ladies and gentlemen, the story doesn't end there. When Rasulullah was born, there was only one woman present in the house where she gave birth. Amina gave birth. There was only one person who was helping her give birth, and that was Barakah. Guess who touched the beloved Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's body? The first to touch was Barakah, because as the baby is born, the one who is helping holds the baby first. She cleansed the baby herself, and she handed over the baby to Amina, who is the mother, of course. So this extraordinary woman called Barakah was not only the companion of his mother, not only the consoler of his mother when she lost her husband, but she is the blessed woman whose hands touched the body of beloved Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at birth. She is the first person to cleanse his body and the first person to hand over the body. In other words, she is the first person to hold Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on this earth. Barakah was an extraordinary woman. I want you to remember, Barakah was a black woman. She was a woman from Ethiopia, a black woman. She was not treated differently because she was black. And Allah did not deprive Barakah of this amazing blessing, and that is to help Amina deliver the beloved Prophet of Allah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on this earth, the one who would be the carrier, the messenger of the Quran, the one who would be remembered for eternal time to come, the one who has been praised in the Quran by Allah. Brothers and sisters, that was Barakah, a black woman. It is said that when Prophet ﷺ grew up, his mother died. Barakah remained with Muhammad ﷺ, looking after him all the way. From his baby, his birth, to his early years, to his adolescence, to his teenage years, Barakah was always with Rasulullah ﷺ. There's only one woman who could constantly tell Muhammad ﷺ to eat, and Prophet ﷺ, without asking a question, would eat. That was Barakah. Barakah refused to get married. Rasulullah ﷺ insisted, Barakah, please get married. Barakah, please get married. He actually never called her Barakah. He used to call her Mum, Ummi, oh my mother. Rasulullah ﷺ said, that was my mother, another mother. It's amazing. That was a black woman. Prophet of Allah ﷺ insisted that his mother, Barakah, should get married, and she said, no, I made a promise. I made a promise to your mother as she was dying, that I will not abandon you, I'll look after you, and I'm not going anywhere. Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then got married to Khadija himself. And when he got married to Khadija, he said to Barakah, please get married. Mummy, please get married. And she accepted. She got married. And she had a baby from that marriage called Ayman, and that's why she was given the name Ayman. Brothers and sisters, her husband passed away. Prophet ﷺ went over to her house and brought her back to his own home. He brought Ayman, Barakah Ayman, to his own house. Barakah Ayman lived in his house with Khadija. So Rasulullah's house consisted of Rasulullah, Khadija, Barakah Ayman, and Ayman. That was Rasulullah's house. Even before birth, his household consisted of his father Abdullah, his mother Amina, and Barakah. After his birth, his house consisted of his mother, himself, and Barakah Ayman. Barakah Ayman stayed with Rasulullah. One day Rasulullah announced, if there is anybody here who would like to get married to a woman of Jannah, guaranteed woman of Jannah, Barakah Ayman it is, my mother. When Rasulullah's announcement came, Zayd bin Haritha came forward and said, Ya Rasulullah, I would like to marry her. Prophet ﷺ was so delighted, got them married. He hugged him, he cried with him and said, Oh Zayd, you're not marrying just an ordinary woman. You're not marrying just Barakah Ayman, but you are marrying my mother after my birth mother. Barakah was a black woman. If you want to tell me Islam doesn't deal a blow to racism, then what does? Here is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In fact, straight after he grew up to an adult age, he immediately said to Barakah, oh my mom, you're no longer a slave of this family. I am freeing you. Go ahead and you can do what you like. You can go any place you like. And Barakah Ayman refused to go anywhere because how wild was Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How wild was him. She looked after him when there was nobody else to look after him. That was a black woman. So anyone wants to know how to deal with racism, look at the life of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and learn how racism can be destroyed instantly and immediately. All you need to do is be willing to work. All you need to do is willing to accept the philosophy of Islam. All you need to do is shun your ignorance and your old ignorant ways. Brothers and sisters, Islam deals with racism from its root. Today, we're talking about racism left, right and center. We're talking about black people and how their lives matter. Yes, of course, it matters. But unfortunately, the society hasn't destroyed racism. Black people are still discriminated in our country, in the UK. Black people are discriminated in America. Black people are discriminated across the world just for being black. How awful is that? How terrible is that? Islam has a decisive answer to it. Allah says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nas, O humanity, inna khalaqnakum, we've made you. Min dhakarin wa unsa, from one man and one woman. Firstly, Allah says, O humanity, listen to this message very carefully. Ya ayyuhan nas, this message is for everybody. Muslims and non-Muslims, everyone should listen to this message. We have created you. Allah says, Inna khalaqnakum, surely we have created you. So accept one another as our creation. Number one, accept each other as Allah's creation. Allah created me. Allah created white people. Allah created me. Allah created black people. Allah created me. Allah created Chinese people. Allah created me. Allah created Aborigine people. Allah created me. Allah created the indigenous people of America. Allah created us all. And as soon as we can accept that, as soon as we can respect that, we all will treat one another equally. That's how Islam deals with racism once and for all. We're all creations of Allah. Inna khalaqnakum. And then min dhakarin wa unsa, from one man and one woman. We're all the same. We come from the same way, same root, conceived in our mother's belly. We're born through the same experience, the same way everyone is born. Allah is saying you are born from the same root, from the same place, same space. How can you be different? How can you discriminate one another? You're the same human race, one race called the human race. Min dhakarin wa unsa. From the same male and same female, you began your journey. And throughout human history, you'll continue this journey from the same male and same female. Brothers and sisters, when we can accept this, that we are creations of Allah, and Allah has created all of us beautifully. He has created all of us very beautifully. Never has He made a compromise in the beauty that He has given all of us. Whether you're black or white, whether you're Asian or African, whether you're Chinese or Mongolian, whether you are Australian or American, whether you're European or any other, you're all the same, created beautifully. Whatever color you have, you're beautiful. Whatever color your eyes are, you're beautiful. Whatever complexion your skin is, you're beautiful. Whatever style your hair is, you're beautiful. However you are, you're beautiful. Accepting that forms part of our faith as Muslims. If the world around had the same faith, and that is all human beings are made by Allah and they're all made beautifully, there would be no discrimination, none whatsoever. If we also believe that we all came from the same two people and we will continue being born on this earth using the same mechanism, we will also not discriminate one another because we are the same. My brothers and sisters, I want you all to understand that racism is a sickness of mind and sickness of attitude. The only way we're going to be able to overcome and eradicate it is when we change our belief and our philosophy. And Islam provides a philosophy that says you're all the same. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. All children of Adam are born with dignity and honor. All children of Adam are born with dignity and honor. Allahu Akbar. When you believe that your brother who is black is the same as you in dignity and honor, your brother who is Chinese is the same as you in dignity and honor, your brother who is Australian, your sister who is American, your families are from all over the world and you're part of the same human family, you will not discriminate the other person based on their color, based on their background, their ethnicity, their language, their culture. You will not. My brothers and sisters, racism is a sickness of the mind and attitude, and we must address it decisively and once and for all. And then Allah says, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلْ, and we have created you in shu'ub, in groups, وَقَبَائِلْ, and tribes. Yes. Why? Not to divide one another. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and don't be divided between yourselves. He says in the Quran, لِتَعَارَفُوا, instead get to know one another. Arafa is to get to know somebody else. Ta'aruf is to get to know them well, form relationship, build friendship. My brothers and sisters, when we form friendship and relationship, we'll be fine. When we don't and we treat the other as an alien, treat the other as a threat, treat the other disrespectfully, treat the other as somebody less than me, treat the other as less worthy than me, treat the other as less privileged than me, treat the other as less good looking than me, then we are creating racism and we are creating problems in our world. So Allah says, I've created you in different looks, shapes and sizes, given you different spaces to live, different environments in which you're brought up. The environments determined your color and your nature. Yes, I understand. You are into smaller tribes. Yes, I understand. That's your identity. But your biggest identity is Allah created you. Allah made you in the best of fashion. Allah gave you honor and dignity at birth. Allah has given you freedom. Allah has honored you by creating the same mechanism by which you will be born. And Allah has given you this earth as you will be its custodian. Why do you discriminate your fellow human being? Why do you look at somebody as different to you? You look at them as your own, just like you are same human race. Brothers and sisters, racism must be eradicated right now. There is no room for racism in our world, in our society. So Allah says, yes, you are different in terms of you gather differently, you have been born in different geographical locations. Yes, the environment, the weather has determined some of your complexities, complexions, etc. But you are still the same, so that you will get to know one another. لِتَعَارَفُوا. The best way to eradicate racism, my brothers and sisters, is to get cross-cultural marriages. I am for cross-cultural marriages. I hate it when people say, I don't want to get married to that person because they are from a different culture, they are from a different race, they are from a different nationality, ethnicity, they speak a different language, and they speak or they eat a different food, and they wear different clothes. I hate such a statement, because such a statement smacks of racism through and through. Get married to people of different color and race. That's the way to eradicate racism from our society, from our practices, from our family, from everything that we do. Allah has made you and me so that we don't create schisms, we create brotherhood, sisterhood, we create relationship, friendship, bonds of love and affection, live in mercy and compassion, and share this world together peacefully and in harmony. That's what Allah has created you and I for. He did not create you and I for war. He did not create you and I to loot other people's wealth and plunder them. He did not create you and I to go and occupy other people's land. He did not create you and I to become colonial masters. He did not create you and I to enslave people. No, He did not create you and I to cause trouble on this earth. He has created you and I to restore peace and stability on this earth, to share this earth together, to live together in harmony and peace. That's the purpose of creation. My brothers and sisters, racism is rooted in this prejudice, in this arrogance, in this complexity that you feel you're better than somebody else. That's the trait of the devil. Allah says that in the Quran, when Shaitan was asked, why did you not obey my command when I asked you to prostrate in front of Adam? He said, I am better than Adam. I am made from fire and he's made from clay. I am better than him. It's no different to a black person saying a white man is worse than me, or a white man looking at a black man and saying they are worse than me. I am better than them. It's no different. It's a trait of a devil. Racism is trait of a devil. A Muslim cannot be racist under any circumstances, and a human being should never be racist under any circumstances. Should never be. Brothers and sisters, racism historically has become part of our institution, part of our world's makeup, part of the way the globe has been arranged from colonial time. When Britain, when Italian, when Spanish, when Portuguese, when Dutch colonizers went around the world and colonized other people's lands, Asia, Africa, Middle East, and carved it between themselves, absolutely on an ad hoc basis, destroying local people. Absolutely complete destruction and havoc was caused by colonizers. That's when racism became part and parcel of the institution of European civilization, European culture and psyche as we see it today. Are you surprised that people want statues of slave traders, slave merchants, those who benefited from slavery, those who were at the forefront of championing slavery? Are you surprised statues by their name, plaques in their name, streets in honor of their name is now being called for, so that we'll dismantle them, we'll take them off and we'll replace them with more civilized names, more celebratory names, people's names that will bring our humanity together? Are you surprised? Are you surprised people are taking direct action after waiting for tens of years, peacefully asking those people's statues and names and plaques to be removed from public spaces? Are you surprised in Britain, in America, in other parts of the world, people are gathering together, creating mass movement so that these names would be eradicated from our history, would be omitted from our, erased from our history forever, and only be remembered as loathsome, as despicable, as heinous individuals who caused havoc on this earth? Are you surprised? I'm not surprised. In fact, I support the direct action of those people because they've waited for so long. I support direct action of removing the statues of slave masters, slave traders, and beneficiaries of slave business. I support it because I believe the statue there in itself was a criminal offense in the first place. Morality is always the same. Unethical things has always been unethical. Those slave traders were unethical then. What they committed then was immoral, and what we're saying today is also immoral in the sense that our judgment is universal. What they did is wrong, and we should never venerate them. We should remove them from all our streets. The name should be renamed. All our statues should be removed, and all the plaques should be renamed, and we should eradicate the public display of veneration of all those people. Yes, put them, confine them in the museum. In fact, I'm even doubtful to give such people a space in the museum. They should be confined to the gutter, a place where people will only look and say, these are the horrible people who have created this racism and division in our world. I support actions on calls for removing the statues, plaques and names of people who have any links with racism, association with slavery. In fact, anything to do with colonization makes my blood boil. My brothers and sisters, the only way we're going to be able to see a change in the world is if we bring about institutional changes. The other day, I said to somebody, we need to change our institutions. But before we change our institutions, we need to rewrite our history. History has been written by colonial masters. The colonizers destroyed the world. They rejigged the world according to what suits them. They apportioned countries and places to people who would serve them well. And they came and they commissioned people, and they found historians who would write a narrative based on their funding, based on their vision of the world, based on their experiences, and based on their world view. It's a colonial perspective. We need to rewrite our history. Write our history from the perspective of those who have suffered under slavery. Write our history from the perspective of those whose lands were occupied, those who suffered the occupation, those who suffered the genocide, those who suffered mass starvation, those who suffered death and destruction because Europeans were greedy and amassing the wealth of the world, because the ancestors of current Europeans were greedy and immoral. They went around the world enslaving people, destroying other people's land and occupying people's land and calling it their own homes. We need to rewrite our history. History cannot be kept as it is. It's time we rewrote history, even if it's painful. Some people will find it painful. I don't care how painful it is. Unless we rewrite our history, brothers and sisters, we risk seeing the ugly face of racism resurfacing. So first thing we need to do in terms of changing institutions is rewrite our history and acknowledge the ugly past, the despicable past, the heinous past, the genocidal past, the murderous past, the criminal past of European colonizers, European slave traders, European masterminds who orchestrated such crime against humanity. Must acknowledge it. And we must teach these history to the people, to our children when they go to school. I went to school in this country. I went to universities and colleges in this country. I was never taught about slavery. I was never taught about the despicable impact of colonialism. I was never taught about discrimination my ancestors faced. I was never taught that. It's about time we teach our children the true impact of colonization, true impact of what happened in the world by writing and rewriting our history. And number 4, Europeans need to apologize sincerely. And once and for all, apologize to the world, especially those who have suffered at the hands of the colonial masters, especially those who have suffered at the hands of invaders, at the hands of those who came and occupied their land. Colonial masters, yes, but their children live on today in 21st century world, in Europe and America, in Australia, in New Zealand and Canada. Europeans, listen very carefully. Canadians, listen very carefully. Americans, listen very carefully. Australians, New Zealanders, listen very carefully. You did not belong to those lands. You perhaps belong to Europe. You colonized those lands. You caused genocide on people. You wiped out the local indigenous people in their millions in South America, in Canada, in Australia, in New Zealand. You wiped them out. You need to apologize for what you've done. You need to tell the truth. You need to apologize profusely. And you need to make a promise that we will never do it again. Never do it again. In fact, part of your promise should be that you start living that right now. And this is a great time to change the way we are. Stop supporting despots and dictators in those countries that you occupied and you colonized, that you enslaved. Stop supporting illegitimate regimes in Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, in all parts of the world, in Tunisia, in Algeria, in Morocco, in Africa, in Asia, every part of the world where there is an illegitimate regime and despotic regime. Stop supporting them. Stop propping up despots and dictators, because the more you do, the more you sustain your colonial story, more you sustain your racist mantra, more you sustain your political philosophy that is based on a racist philosophy, a racist ideology. Stop supporting illegitimate regimes. Help countries to grow. Help Pakistan to become more democratic. Help Tunisia to become more democratic. Help Algeria to become more democratic. Help Bangladesh to become more democratic. Help all countries of the world to become truly free without imposing your colonial, racist, unethical foreign policies that still the stench of it can be smelt from the other side of the world. This is for the Europeans, to the Americans, to the Canadians, to the Australians, to the New Zealanders. Your ancestors were Europeans. You colonized other people's world and you still impose your way on those people. That must change. Must change. Some of you will be thinking this is too radical. Yes, radical changes are needed. Somebody told me the other day, it will take time. How long? You told me this when I was little. Now I'm 48, you're still telling me this. You told the same thing to my parents. They're dead now. You're still telling me the same story. Wait, things will change. I have no time to wait. I have no time to wait. I don't want to see this world and leave this world to my children under your racist, colonialist and occupation philosophy that dominates the world. I don't want to see that anymore. I want to see a change. I want to see a change right now. Ladies and gentlemen, institutional changes require black people, brown people, Chinese people, all people of the world to have the same right, equal right. The most important organization in the world today, called United Nations. Guess what? United Nations is occupied by, held hostage by 5 permanent members of United Nations Security Council. They throw in veto when it doesn't suit them. America uses veto every time somebody speaks against American interest or Israeli interest. Britain uses veto. Canada uses, China uses veto. France uses veto. Who gave you the God-given, what makes you think is a God-given right that you should occupy United Nations permanent position? Who gave you that right in the first place? You made it for yourself. We need to see a change because that position is racist. Do you know why? Because you're saying you as a nation, British, us as British, Americans, you're more worthy of stronger power in United Nations? No! We all are equal and we must be treated equally, and we must treat one another equally by changing our institutions. Locally, our police force must reflect our diversity. Our top civil service positions must reflect our diversity. A recent news reporter asked one of the cabinet members, how many black people do you have in your cabinet? I was asked to Matt Hancock, who was waffling. He couldn't answer it because we don't have black people around in the cabinet. Brothers and sisters, if the world doesn't reflect the true diversity of our world, what are you saying? Are you saying white people are the only ones who are more intelligent and therefore worthy of and should occupy positions of power and influence? Is that what you're saying? That's racist. And if you're not saying that, then change it with your action. Change it with your attitude. Change it in your institutions. Reflect the true nature and the diversity that we see around. We grew up in the East End of London facing racism. I've got marks on my face of glass broken. I've got marks on my body of attacks by racist thugs. My families were hounded in their houses because of racism. We grew up in the UK facing racism when we were told only English, I was told only English people pass English GCSE exams and you cannot pass English GCSE because you're not English enough. I was told that I would not progress in life. I was told I'm not worthy of many things in life. Ladies and gentlemen, I never took it head down. I never took it lying down. I fought back and I'm still fighting back. And I don't want my children to fight. I am sick and tired of fighting for my basic human rights. Black people are sick and tired of fighting for their basic human rights. We all deserve to be treated equally and fairly, like Allah says in the Quran. He says, Ya ayyuhan nas, إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. O humanity, we have created you out of one male and one female, and we have made you into groups and tribes so that you will get to know one another, not despise one another, not discriminate one another, not occupy one another, not enslave each other. No, we're all born free. We're all born free. We're all born with dignity and honor. We're all born beautifully despite our color, our shape and our size. And we must be treated beautifully, respectfully and with dignity. It makes me very angry. And you can see I'm very angry today. And I've been angry for 48 years on racism. on racism. Whenever racism is brought to the forefront, it makes people like me angry, because we have experienced it on a daily basis, and we still experience it on a daily basis. When government says you're not worthy of our consultation, when government says we're going to exclude you because you're not good enough, you're being racist towards me. My brothers and sisters, no more. No more. We're not taking this anymore. I call upon you all to rise and contribute constructively to eradicate racism from our society, from our institutions locally and globally, and see the world become fairer, more equitable, based on human dignity and honor. May Allah forgive us, my brothers and sisters. May Allah enable us so that we can become better. May Allah empower us so that we can pursue His path. And most importantly, my brothers and sisters, may Allah protect us from the evil of racism. May Allah protect us from the evil of racism. May Allah protect us from the evil of racism. May Allah protect us from the evil of racism. I will finish here. I make Allah Azza wa Jal my witness. Ya Arhamur Rahimin, Ya Akramul Akramin. Forgive us, Ya Allah. Forgive us for our shortcomings, Ya Allah. Ya Akramul Akramin. Empower us so that we can be together and united, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamur Rahimin, empower us so that we can treat each other with dignity and honor, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamur Rahimin, Ya Akramul Akramin. Keep us together as human beings and accept one another so that we can accept each other as part of the same human race, Ya Allah. Eradicate racism from this world, Ya Allah. Eradicate racism from this world, Ya Allah. Eradicate racism from this world, Ya Allah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. Thank you very much for listening. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.